everyone, the biggest project I've done so far, a walnut dining room table. So I'm going to take you through the planning and all the materials. I took my idea from a catalog, and in the catalog this table that you see here is about $2,700 for the larger version. So our version is going to be similar to this with just a couple changes. You can see on the top of the table there are some butterfly inserts, so we're going to go ahead and do that as well. The one thing we're not going to do though is have the open joint down the center of the table. So I thought we'd talk about the design next, and what I did is I used Visio, because I don't have a fancy design tool, to just do a basic design of the table. Here on the upper half you can see the top of the table. We'll have 5 butterfly inserts in it. On the bottom half of this image, you can see a side view of the table. And as I said, I've changed things up just a little bit. There'll be a crossbar connecting the 2 legs underneath. In addition, the top of the table will be a bit scalloped. Here's an edge-on view of the table. So, I tried to get some measurements, rough measurements of how things might look. You'll notice the legs are 12 inches thick each, and then they're separated by a 2-inch crossbar at the bottom and a 2-inch support that's actually inlaid into the top of the table on the top. So this is the design of the legs. The top image is looking down as if you were looking through the top of the table. And you can see that I'm using 2 wide platforms to attach to the tabletop, and then I will attach the legs to those platforms. The lower image there shows that from a side view, and I'll go ahead and indent that platform so the leg fits snugly inside it. So since this is such a big project, for me anyway, I decided to jot some major steps down on paper. So the first one is the legs. So I've got the various steps of what I need to do to make sure that all the legs are complete and finished. And then the second step is the tabletop itself. So for example, I decided to just glue the 2 centerpieces together and then do the butterfly inlays. So if I screw those up, I could just turn that piece over or do 2 others, and I don't have a full tabletop assembled, and then I've messed up the butterfly inserts. And finally, you see here the assembly. So these are the steps for the assembly. So anyway, you can take screenshots or whatever. When I first sat down to even think about building this dining room table, there were quite a few build considerations that I hadn't even considered. So I jotted those down as well. The first, I have to build this in my garage. I don't have a workshop. I'll do the final assembly in the dining room itself, and we have a couple French doors that we can just bring it in through, so that's good. I need a suitable platform to build the tabletop on. This is something that you really need to consider, right? I'm going to have a 90-inch by 40-inch tabletop of about 1 3/4 inch thick walnut, which is going to weigh probably a couple hundred pounds. So I need to consider where I'm going to build this thing, how I'm going to build it, and where I'm going to glue it up and clamp it up and all that stuff. All these others are, do I have enough clamps? Do I have enough glue? How am I going to mill the lumber? Is my wife willing to help? And she said she would. And then lastly, I'm going to take my time and I'm going to do it right. We've got our rough sawn boards here, and then tomorrow what we'll do is we'll start going through the lumber and seeing how we want to cut these up, what makes sense for the tabletop. So these are about 97 inches long. We're going to cut those down to 90, but we won't do that until we finish milling them. And then I've got 2 other boards over here. Excuse the messy garage. So with all of that said, it's probably going to take a couple weekends actually to mill all this wood, just because of the number of times I have to run it through the joiner, and then I have to plane it and all that stuff. It's not easy. It's just really time consuming. So we'll see how we go and how far we get tomorrow.